Okay, great. Oops, that's so loud. Okay, that volume good? Everyone can hear me? Okay, great. So I'm Jeremy Rand from Namecoin. I'm going to be talking about decentralized DNS and identities that Namecoin can enable. By the way, quick question, is Richard Stallman still in the room? He's outside? Okay. Noted. Okay, so first going to, all right, so naming systems, for those of you who aren't familiar, are a simple form of online database. So for example, you type in archive.org, which we call a name, you get back the IP address of the Internet Archive, which we call a value. And so Namecoin is the first naming system which is global, meaning everyone who looks up a name gets exactly the same data back. Human meaningful, meaning the name isn't just some set of random numbers. And decentralized. And obtaining all three of these features at once was previously believed to be impossible. Namecoin is based on the realization that getting all three of those features at the same time basically reduces to the problem of finding a decentralized global consensus. And this is exactly the problem that Bitcoin solves. And so Namecoin is a modified version of Bitcoin where we repurpose it into a naming system. So name value pairs are represented by a special kind of coin. Now, why would you want to use Namecoin? Well, the naming system you're most familiar with, most likely, is DNS, and that's how you get the IP address of the Internet Archive. And unfortunately, in the DNS system we have today, it's possible for trusted third parties to steal names, falsify them, or censor them, and that sucks. And widely used identity systems like Facebook single sign-on are, I think, even worse. And so in Namecoin, those kinds of attacks are similar in difficulty to stealing, counterfeiting, or freezing Bitcoin currency. And so that's substantially more secure in most cases. And to be clear, Namecoin uses a separate blockchain with different rules from Bitcoin, but miners can mine Bitcoin and Namecoin at the same time. And so now that I've given a really brief introduction to what Namecoin is, I'm going to talk about what we've been working on lately, because that's probably what you're all here for. So for HTTPS certificate verification, show of hands, who here was not at the panel discussion yesterday where I was? Anyone here was not there? Okay, most people were. Okay, so really fast for people who weren't, HTTPS is very, very centralized. I'm not going to go through all this right now, but basically Namecoin can replace the centralized parties in HTTPS in a way that's difficult to falsify by using the blockchain directly. Okay, so I have a really cool announcement. We have HTTPS completely working, at least in a proof of concept mode. This is as of about 2 weeks ago. It only works on Chrome on Windows right now, and that's why I was about to ask if Richard Stallman was still in the room. Yeah. There is a reason it only works on Chrome for Windows, which is that most browsers just don't expose the features that we need to make that work. And I know this sucks, because I don't use Chrome and I don't use Windows. So I sympathize with all the Stallmans in the audience who are unhappy about this. Even Chrome for Windows was really hard to make work. It required a huge number of crazy software things that I would describe as witchcraft. So I know there are some Mozilla and Google people around here at the summit. So if anyone from Mozilla or Google is in the audience, could you guys please talk to me so we can look at trying to get better APIs into browsers so that we don't need crazy witchcraft to do this? Because that'd be awesome. Also, lightweight name lookups. This is a really important thing. I have another announcement. Normally, when you look up data in the Bitcoin blockchain or the Namecoin blockchain, you have to download the entire blockchain. That's a lot of stuff. For Namecoin, it's about 3 gigs. For Bitcoin, it's a lot more. If you do cryptocurrency, you probably know there's a trick called SPV, which lets you download a lot less data, just a few tens of megabytes normally, and you're still reasonably secure. Not quite as secure as a full client, but quite a bit better than a trusted third party. Well, I now have SPV lookups working for Namecoin names, so yay. So we are aiming to get both that HTTPS code and SPV code released in less than a month. I can't guarantee it'll be less than a month, but I'm actually expecting it to be a little bit faster than that. So yeah, hopefully everyone will be able to play around with the code and have fun with it. Regarding other things that we're working on or will be working on in the near future, making installation easier and more automated, because as we all know, usability is really, really important. And we would also really like to collaborate more with other projects. For example, Zcash, which I know is here at the summit. We'd love to collaborate with you. Monero, I don't think anyone from Monero is here, but again, we'd love to collaborate with anyone from Monero if they happen to be watching a video of this talk. ZeroNet, it would be awesome to work with you. I know we've already worked with you a little bit. IPFS, same for that. Tor Hidden Services, I don't think Mike Perry is still here today, but yeah, we'd love to work with that as well. And any other project in the room, if you could use a naming system, we would love to work with you.
So
Also,
we have about 3 minutes left, so we want to leave some room for questions.
Yeah, this is almost the last slide, yeah. Also, really fast, funding would be nice. Most of us are working for free right now. We're not really that bitter about it, but if you know someone who would like to fund development so that it goes faster, that'd be cool. I am doing a workshop right after the break, so if you want to try out Namecoin for yourself, I'm giving a workshop after the break. So, yeah. Any questions?
So I just tweeted. Is this working? Okay.
I can't hear you. Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. I just tweeted congratulating you on the SPV name lookups, getting
Great.
that working in Namecoin. That is awesome news. Great job on that.
Thank you.
Will you be demoing that at the workshop or anytime?
Depends. So there was an issue where one of the things the SPV lookup client does right now is to basically get an estimate of where in the blockchain it should look. It checks a block explorer for something. It doesn't trust the data in the block explorer, but it needs to check it. And unfortunately, yesterday that block explorer had its server go down for a little while. It looks like it's back now, so I might be able to demo it, but I can't guarantee it. I will demo the HTTPS stuff. I won't be able to show you guys how to install it because the installation process is crazy complicated right now. But I will demo that on the screen on my computer. And during the workshop, you guys will get to install the Namecoin client. You'll get to install the Namecoin DNS software. And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on SPV. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Question. So right now, Namecoin names are super cheap. I forget
Yeah.
how cheap. They're like a cent or something like that.
Mhm.
US dollar cent, roughly. Do you have a plan to make those more expensive to prevent domain squatting?
Yes, we do. The trick is doing it in a way that doesn't require us to make more changes later if the exchange rate changes, because every time you increase the price, that's a soft fork. Every time you decrease it, that's a hard fork. So like if we were to increase it too much and then we wanted to make it go back down later, we would have to do a hard fork, and that's really disruptive. I actually did have a really good conversation with Bram Cohen from BitTorrent a couple of days ago, where he had some really cool ideas that I can't guarantee will pass peer review, but they sound really cool, that might actually give us a better way to do it that doesn't involve us dictating what the prices should be. So yeah, we are definitely looking at that.
Yeah, he told me about those. Thanks, man.
Okay, great, thanks.
Brewster's the last question. Sorry.
I'm bedeviled in the idea of the distributed web, decentralized web. How are we going to make URLs that work in a decentralized way, but also work back compatibly with people that don't have a content addressable system built into their
Can you repeat the last part of that? I couldn't
So
quite hear you.
how do we make a URL that will work across sort of the ideal world, decentralized world that doesn't actually touch any centralized anything, and and the legacy world where we don't have a plugin or a new browser, And names are important in this, and I'm
Right.
just bedeviled. So I guess I'm just more.
Right. I mean,
Ouch.
so there's definitely some trade-offs there. If we were to encourage everybody to just use, a third-party compatibility service, there's a concern that that would basically be throwing out the advantages that the decentralized method would have. On the other hand, obviously, there are usability issues with installing stuff right now, and that needs to be dealt with in some way. My personal take on this is that there's a huge amount of improvements that can be made in the installation procedure that don't require introducing a trusted third party. Obviously, using a trusted third party is always going to be a little bit easier than doing something that's decentralized, and there's not much you can do about that unless we can get a major web browser or a major operating system to bundle Namecoin. But I think that the goal, in my opinion, should not be to completely match the usability of a centralized system, because I don't think that's feasible. I think the goal should be to make the added overhead of using a decentralized system so minimal that regular users are willing to put up with the extra minute or two it takes to set that up because they understand that it is worth those 1 or 2 minutes. And right now, we're not at 1 or 2 minutes, but I think we can get there.
I believe that's time for this session.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.